Let's start off with how is the Haitian community feeling right now here?
I think that it has been a constant fear since the presidential campaign up to today. I think that they are still fearful.
We talked before, and so has that fear kind of changed now that there is almost a guarantee that there will be increased ICE enforcement come next week, and that temporary protected status is, this federal government is effectively ending it for Haitians? Is the fear more about what will happen here or what is happening in Haiti with the government and the situation there?
And it's both of them. It has been a constant fear by the fact that they know that February 3rd would have come anyhow. And they heard before that ICE might come to town, ICE agents might come to town to operate or start some ICE raids. They knew that before. And the second thing is that it's not that they're not willing to go back home. It's because that they know the push factors that caused them to leave Haiti, those push factors are still there. I mean, nothing has changed. And it's really difficult for any type of individual to live in a constant fear. Being in a place where you know that they can deport you to another place that you left for some specific reasons, whether it has to do with security or any other type of reason, but mainly they left Haiti out of fear because they were not safe. Their family, their kids were not safe. And they came here to live, work, send their kids to school, and just contribute to the economy of the country. They came here, they were vetted, came here legally. And now I think that they're at risk of deportation. So yeah, this has been a constant fear.
Have you seen ICE enforcement agents already here in Springfield arresting anyone? Have you been aware that has already happened at any level?
Yeah, I've been aware of that. I've been aware that they have been here. I've been aware that they arrested folks. But it might happen that next week that will be, the ICE raids maybe will be more obvious. But yeah, it has been happening before. Maybe they came for specific people around this time by the fact that the TPS does not end yet. But as of next week, I think that maybe they will be here for real.
Yeah. Have people talked to you about, or what are your thoughts in seeing some of the national news and how ICE agents, many of them, are conducting themselves out in the streets? Minneapolis is the largest example we have right now. Are you worried about the way the agents will conduct themselves, or are community members that you've spoken to worried about the way in which they will conduct these types of raids?
Yeah, I think this is what creates more panic. It's because at the end of the day, nobody's spared. And I think this is a very risky thing when you know that you might be here whether legally or undocumented, and It doesn't matter that you have a green card or you're a TPS holder or you're an asylum seeker. Everybody is being at risk. They can be arrested or they can be detained. So I think that has created that type of panic. Because at the end of the day, if folks knew that if they are being pulled over, there should be some type of civilized conversation with unmasked person and some person would have said, okay, I am an ICE agent and I am just a civilized conversation between two individuals that wouldn't create that type of fear. But knowing that you can be dragged out of your car or somebody can just get into your house by force, and I think this is crazy. And folks I spoke with express the feeling that they have that type of anxiety and panic because of that. It would make a lot of difference if they know that folks would have come in, they would go after the worst of the worst, as they say, but basically it's not the case. I think that it is peaceful citizens, folks who don't have any criminal records, folks who are at work, and anywhere you are being a target. So this is crazy.
And we have seen, at least in Minnesota, that when some people are detained and are flown to Texas is one place that they were flown there to detention centers, maybe the same day or the next day, without a legal process.
Mm-hmm.
So is that also part of a concern? And touching on that, what are families that have had children since being here saying to you? Because I'm sure that there's some of these families that their children were born on American soil,
Yeah.
and are technically American citizens.
Yeah, they are afraid of being separated from the kids. I was with a mom this morning, accompanied her to the hospital, and she told me, she was asking me actually what would be happen to her kid if she's being detained, and I couldn't answer that question. I said, I don't know. All that I think they can do is to sign a power attorney to develop their personal plan and to make sure that if they're being detained, they have somebody that can have the guardianship of the kids. This is the only thing that they can do. It's not somebody that should suggest whom to give the kid to. It should be them signing that power attorney to say, okay, in case I'm being detained, I want my kid to be in that person's hand for guardianship. So this is the only thing I could tell her. Other than that, I know that she's at risk, everybody's at risk, I am at risk. So that's the way it has been.
Yeah. Are there any people that you know of that have self-deported, that have already gone back to Haiti or have tried to go somewhere else for that matter, knowing that this was coming?
I know folks who left to go to other states or to go to Canada or try to find a way to other countries, self-deport. We receive call, folks asking us if we can walk them through the process of self-deporting. We receive calls about that. I think that has been happening.
For people who don't know what the more specific conditions are like in Haiti, I'm sure you have family, friends.
Yes.
You probably stay very up on news and things that are happening there. Can you describe what those conditions are like that people are living in there? And is it truly even safe to be deporting people back there who came here for safety and asylum, essentially.
Yeah, I think this is what creates the fear among the community, the Haitian community. The fact that, as I told you before, even in Haiti, there are more than 1.3 million people who have been displaced by gang violence. I mean, they just find themselves in shelters elsewhere, in some type of camp, with no access to clean water or medication or food. And if folks read the report from the United Nations on Haiti, you would have seen that there is an acute food insecurity in Haiti. And folks know that armed groups have been taking over the capital city of Port-au-Prince for the past 3 years, especially after the assassination of the former president Jovenel Moïse. And the situation is still the same. Just recently, I spoke with my brother, who is a pastor in Haiti, and he told me how folks are so desperate, hopeless, because any hoodlums can come and shoot any people and rape any little girl, and they are powerless. They cannot just do anything. And he has folks coming to his church explaining to him how badly their husband was shot, their daughters was raped, and those wives and mothers, sometimes they're walking in the street out of their mind because they just lost their partner with gunshot or whatever. So it's painful some of the time to have this conversation with my brother as a pastor. And even him himself, his house, he's a displaced because he came back to live with my mom after building his house. So he's kind of lay low because he cannot stay in his house anymore. And his house is just 2 miles away from the U.S. Embassy in Haiti. So, and the U.S. Embassy cannot even operate properly. So when people are talking about us going back, they believe that we don't want to go back. Home is home at the end of the day. Everybody would be glad to be at home. Why should I be here? In a cold temperature that I'm not even used to. So I am here because my country is not doing well. And folks, I saw some comments where folks are saying bad things about the community. But I always tell folks, if you get a group of Haitians, whether 50 or 60 of them in one room, and you ask them that question, do you want guys to go back home if your country get back to normalcy? And all of them would answer in unison, yes, we would be glad to go back to our country. So, and this is why I tell you that it has been a constant fear. Home is home at the end of the day. There is no place like home. Why should I be here? And this is the question I think most of the folks should reflect upon. Why those individuals are here? Why are they here? And if they have the courage to ask that simple question and dig a little bit deeper, make a little research, they would believe that they are lucky that they are in a country where they can enjoy the country, they can raise their family, they have all the social benefits, and they have all the support of the government whatsoever, comparing to some other folks that just flee the country, whether because of war, because of poverty, because of insecurity. So they would normally just be grateful to God because they can enjoy their country and other folks cannot enjoy their country. And the question I would also again ask, why should I be here? I am Haitian. Why should I be in America? And I will tell them that I had been traveling with a visa back and forth from USA to Haiti. Since 2013, I had a visa, American visa. But I never had in my mind to stay here. And so many folks who you see here, whether they are professors, they are teachers, they are students, they have been traveling to the USA back and forth, and they never had it much just to stay here. They came to shop, to make a little bit of shopping, and they can visit with a friend, or they can come to a conference. But they never had in mind to come here. I chose to stay here in 2020 because Haiti got worse in terms of insecurity, and it's the case for many people you see here in Springfield. They don't want to be here.
Yeah, and I think, what you're really describing, it's the human element,
Yeah.
right? To your point,
Yeah.
home is home.
Home is home, yeah, for anyone.
And I mean, your brother is a pastor, and he can't even feel safe
No,
in
he
his own home.
no, he built his house, and he had to flee from his own house and get back to my mom in a little area where it is a little bit safer, and lay low.
I think thank you so much for that perspective.
Yeah.
I hope that gives people more perspective. For the community center, what are you telling people? How are you educating people about their rights, their constitutional rights here, and about a hopeful legal process? What have you been how have you been educating people?
I think we've been having Know Your Right training for folks. And this is why the attorney, immigration attorney, just left here a while ago before you came here. And he was here this morning just to receive folks and listen to them and help them to understand their right. But the question everybody is asking, what's the purpose that can serve right now when Know Your Right is not a thing anymore? Even though you know it or not, it doesn't serve any purpose, because at the end of the day, when you encounter an ICE agent, they don't even know that you have right. They believe that they can treat you as animal or whatever. So, yeah, they know their right. They know that if ICE came to the house, they have the right not to open the door. But now, with the news that ICE can just force themselves into your house without your permission, how that right would be useful now? They know that if they are being pulled over, they have the right not to answer any questions and ask for a lawyer. But now, as folks is being dragged out of their cars, is that important? How that can serve anymore? So, Know Your Right or don't know your right doesn't serve any purpose now around this time.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with any Springfield local officials, the mayor, or even officials at the state level to voice any of your concerns or concerns of the Haitian community? Has there been any contact there?
Me personally, I haven't been in contact with them, but other folks in the community have been in contact with them. Yeah, I know that the city has passed a resolution for ICE agents to be unmasked and be ready to identify themselves, but I'm not sure that they will comply with it. I think Governor DeWine has voiced his concern about the community many times, but I'm not sure that has made any difference. So it's really sad to see that the federal government has not been working in coordination with the state government or the local government to coordinate things, not to create panic or fear in the community. Because at the end of the day, I think the local officials, they know that their community is better than the federal government. if there is any criminals in the community, I think the community task force would help the federal government to identify those criminals. But it is the agenda to target folks who are not criminal. Those aspects are not taken into consideration. So whether you are here legally or undocumented, you are a target. Whether you are white, trying to stand in solidarity with the immigrants, you are a target. Whether you are brown folks, you are a target. Whether you are black folks, you are a target. So now it's just like a crazy time for everybody.
I think some of us are expecting, and we don't know yet, we don't know exactly what next week will look like, but the possibility of protests or counter protests. What has been some of your experience with some of the local community members here, and what do Haitians need from people here? Do they need support? Do they need compassion? Do they need people to voice their opinion, not voice their opinion?
Yeah. I think all that we need is a bit of understanding, because at the end of the day, we are not here to beg. We are here to work. We are not here to commit crimes. We are here to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So we have been accused of so many things that we don't know. But all that I think that the community is supportive for most of the part. But there is that anywhere. There are always folks who just don't want to see you. And they will say things not based on facts, but just to compensate their feelings, how they feel. And feeling sometimes is disappointed, because you cannot just rely on your feeling to say things. It should be better to do a little bit of research and ask questions if you don't understand. For example, one of the things I see people say that why don't they help the homeless instead of helping those folks here? But those folks, most of the churches in Springfield, I think if I majority of the churches in Springfield has ministry for the homeless. The church I attended, specifically the Central Christian Church, they have a huge truck and a huge storage dedicated specifically for the homeless, and you would see volunteers come every Thursday, pack food in that truck and go to serve the homeless. But when those folks are out there saying that why they are not helping the homeless, I'm wondering if they know what they are saying, or if they even give themselves time to go around and see what the churches are doing, what the cities are doing for those folks. But just they want to voice their feeling and express their feeling, and just to compensate themselves that they are right, and they say anything.
Give me some perspective of how it feels when you run into someone who is just purely hateful and, quite frankly, mean.
I came across a couple of them. But most of the time I give myself permission to listen to them. And ask them simple question. Where do you get that from? And I remember one time I spoke with a woman who told me, yes, Haitian really eat cats and dogs. And I was asking her, where you got that from? Say a friend of mine from Dominican Republic told me that you guys are eating cats and dogs. And I say that, but if you want to know something about my culture, I'm in front of you, why don't you ask me? Because if I want to know something about the American culture, I think the best person to ask is an American. How is your cuisine? How is your culture? So I couldn't go and ask a Spanish or any other nation, how is the American culture? If that nation hates you, they will tell me bad thing about you. But most of the time, it's not the case. Yeah, and folks nowadays don't want to learn. They are relying on misinformation just to say things that they shouldn't say about other people. But yeah, at the end of the day, I encountered so many of them. I heard them, and I used to work as a case manager at the Department of Jobs and Family Services. But most of the time when I am on the line, English line, interviewing folks for SNAP or Medicaid or cash assistance, most of the time I feel like asking my boss not to put me on the English line. Because the way folks are insulting my Haitian brothers and sisters, not knowing if they are talking to a Haitian, it is painful. But I also wanted to stay on that line, because when they speak to me like this and I just go ahead and say, hey, we are here to help you, I understand what you're going through, all that you can do is to help me and for me to be able to help you. So we will leave that stuff that you are talking, because it's not the reason for you to call. You're calling for a different reason. Let's just go through that. But yeah, so sometimes they are saying that those pigs are coming here just to take our benefits or whatever, and not knowing if they're talking to a Haitian. So it's painful to know that you have a country and now you find yourself in another country being insulted. So yeah, it asks you to have some, mentally speaking, you have to be strong. And this is what I always say, folks, that immigrants' life is not for the weak. You miss your home, you miss your siblings, you miss your mother, you miss your country, and you're being insulted, hearing people say all type of thing about you, that you're asking yourself sometimes, are they talking about me? Are they talking about my country? So that's the way it has been.
Is there anything else as we lead into next week that we didn't discuss? And I'm sure you'll be seeing me and some of our other reporters next week.
Yeah, I will be there next week. And we just ask folks to have a little bit of humanity. And that's all we ask for.